Right, we're going to go through the new Trade by Design indicator suite. So that's not one, that's not two, that is 3 new indicators for you. So going from an existing chart layout that you might have where you've got the Trade by Design indicator, what you want to do is press the X to remove it, and then you want to reload the page so that when you add the indicator back again, it's going to pick up the new code, not cached code from the indicator you had before. So after you've done that on your keyboard, go Control R if you're on Windows or Command R if you're on Mac. You're going to choose Save and Reload. Your chart will come back plain. Then what you want to do, right click, go to Settings, Symbol, Body, Borders, and Wick. You want those checked on. Historically, they've been off. And set your candle colors however you want them as the default. Then we'll go and add all of the indicators, and then we'll go through them one by one. So either click on indicators or on your keyboard, press /. Invite only, you want to choose Trade by Design method. That's by TTC Tools. Then we're going to look for our open interest. So open interest auto override by Trade Travel Chill. You want to look for our PVS array, also auto override by Trade Travel Chill. And we want to add our market session times. Right, we'll just go through them one by one. So PVS array, what we've introduced is this volume override for Binance charts. So this means that you don't need to use the override box anymore. You don't need a different template layout for Bitcoin, ETH, and other. You can just use this indicator out the box. No need to change any settings. We will go and look for the Binance perp chart of whatever we're doing. So here I'm using a spot chart for Bitcoin and OKX. This is giving me the Binance perp volume for Bitcoin. If I choose a chart that doesn't have a Binance pair, then it will return the chart that I'm working on. So for example, if I go Nakamoto Games, this doesn't exist on Binance. I've got volume over here. So no other settings are required to change on here. I'm just going to remove these as I go so that we've got more screen to work with. All right, so same thing here. No settings need to be changed. You can use it as is. We have left the option there for you if you need to, for some reason, which I can't think of a reason why you'd want to force a symbol to override. It is there. But if you just use it as it comes, then your candles and everything that's going to match cabin crew charts. So that applies to the PVS array. You won't have a candle mismatch if you have this box selected. And again, this works if there's no Binance for the chart. It will show the open interest for the exchange that you're on. If the exchange you're on doesn't provide the open interest data, you're going to get a study error here. It's going to be blank. That's perfectly normal. So going back to the Nakamoto Games example, you can see it will just show the study error here because KuCoin does not provide open interest data and Nakamoto Games doesn't exist on Binance. So that is all 100% normal. Right, jump back onto almost the main event. So what we're going to do after adding Trade by Design, you've got 2 options. Either you want to click on the indicator name, 3 dots, visual order, bring to front, or you want to go into your object tree and drag the indicator to the top. So you can see as I've dragged it to the top of the object tree, if I go back to visual order, bring to front is grayed out. So those two things will do exactly the same. While we have this open, I'll just go to the data window just to show you here. For trade by design, you can see all of the levels are being returned. So all the levels that we have and EMAs in the chart, it's showing you the values in here as well. Before we jump into details of trade by design, I'm just going to swing through the market session times in case somebody is new and hasn't used any of these yet. We do have a separate video on market session time, so I'll just make a very quick run through, but just to be complete, let's go for it. So we've got moon cycles and the option to, on a higher time frame, to only show the higher only show the major moon phases. Otherwise, you end up getting quite a mess of moons everywhere. So there's an example, full moon. The pictures on Mac, admittedly, are much prettier. Right, so do you want to see the session bar? That's this thing over here. Do you want it to be at the top or the bottom? So currently it's set to bottom. Do you want to see the labels? So that's the Asia, UK, US. You can get rid of those if you don't need that clue. Projects the session into the future. Now, what this does is it goes and, as you can see, this is where we are now, but the 2 future sessions or 3 future sessions are showing. The only time you need to pause with this is when the clocks change, because the logic of the way that these lines create, they just use the existing position and add on the correct number of sessions in the front. So it doesn't take into account the clock like the actual sessions do. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just don't use it on the day when the clocks change. And we all know when the clocks change because of all the other drama it causes. So all good. Then we've got the background shading. How dark or light do you want it to be? You just play with the number here. By default, we've only got the dead gap with the background shading. But if you wanted the UK gap, for example, to be shaded as well, you would just check the box. So you can make it whatever color you want. Some of the cabin crew have got the rainbow for their session times. If you want to match that, you just come in here and play with these settings. Show beginning of the day and end of the day and week lines. So that's just a dotted line that will show there, and it will only show once at the end of the week if you choose the week one. A higher time frame session bar, what this does is it places on like on the 4-hour time frame where we don't show the individual sessions. This will just show a gray block, which just helps you when you're back testing to give you an idea of where the actual weekdays were, and then you can choose to shade the different days in that week. If you wanted to, for example, you were back testing Mondays, you could go and set the background for Mondays only. Another thing that is very handy and it's not used that much is the alerts on the market session times. So how alerts works is you go and check whichever ones you want to be alerted about. This is far too many for me to be alerted about, so I would just go and uncheck the ones that I'm not interested in. Then you go to the 3 dots and you go add alert on market sessions. And then this condition here, the any alert function call, what it will do is it will set the alert for all of those ones that you have chosen. The other option, of course, you can just set them one at a time if you want, but there's really no need to do that. You can just set them all in one go. All right. We'll get on to the main event. I'm just going to get rid of the moons. And here we go. All right, these are the new settings. The first big excitement is the backtest mode. So if you check on backtest mode, what will happen is our levels are going to print back as far as the chart can go. The only thing that you need to keep in mind is that the 𝗖𝗄𝗃 and 𝗖𝗏𝗃 will only print 9 weeks back. So if you want data further back than that, all you need to do is click on replay. So you can see there's no 𝗖𝗄𝗃, LODs here. Once you cut it off, we're back to December even, and we've got the levels. I'll just turn off backtest mode. So the number of days we've got to display, it's defaulted to 1, but you can change it up to 7 days to go back. The levels, as we've had before, the low and the high of the week. Do we want to have a label on it? So here, HOW, for example. Now, the labels will only display on today's date, except for the 𝗖𝗄𝗃 and 𝗖𝗏𝗃. And that is because, just to save, there's a lot of possible lines that you can add to your chart. So it's just to avoid clutter. The reason why we keep the 𝗖𝗄𝗃 and 𝗖𝗏𝗃 there is because we've got the percentage that can potentially show, which is quite nice. You can change the line colors if you want. It is a bit more muted than the current version. So if you prefer the red lines for the high of the week, you can just come and change them back here. Another thing that we've added, I'm just going to add the projection back on just to help us see this option. We've got this EXT, which means extension, at the end of all of our key levels. So what this will do is it will extend the line out to the end of the trading day. So you'll see the high of the week should jump out to over here. So you can do them for individual lines, or you can do them all in one go. So extend all lines override will do that. If you check on the box, all of the lines that we have will go out into the future. So even if you have selected 1 or 2, extend all will override that. If you're only using number of days to display 1, then this from day before is available to you. If you check it, it just means that the high of the day will start printing from the previous day, just to give you more of a guideline, but that's only if you are using a single day for levels. We've also added these 50% levels. So 50% of the high and low of the week and 50% of the high and low of the day. So you can see here, here's a 50% of the high and low. It also shows us the price that it's at when you hover over it. I'll just have to scroll a bit. So here's the 50% high-low of the week. So on the initial levels, the 𝗖𝗄𝗃, 𝗖𝗏𝗃, we've given you the option to change the line style, just because there's a lot of lines and they all can blend into one at times. So if you wanted to have a dotted line, for example, you could make that a dotted line or an arrow, for example. We've also added the 50% Asia line, which will auto-calculate. I'm just going to get rid of these just to... So I've just changed my number of days back to 3, just so we can see the 50% Asia line, which is this sort of dashed line. So that will auto-calculate for you. That line is from 3 a.m. New York. And it will just, if you've got the extension going, it's going to go to the end. Next option we have is the US settle. So the US settle is the last 15-minute candle of the US session on a Friday. So if I check that, you'll see here settle. Also, you can also extend it. And this is just highlighting this gray candle here, which is the last one of the day. This box is only going to display on the 5-minute chart and the 15-minute chart. It's not going to display on the hour. If you want to see the level on your 1-hour chart, just come in here and just draw a box around it yourself. I'll just get rid of that. So line thickness, if you want your lines to be thicker or thinner, you can change them here. We've already gone through, extend everything. Show warning if the high and the low of the week is not displayed. So on the 1 and 2-minute chart, the high of the week, low of the week are going to be displayed. So if you just leave this box checked, you know, if you're a scalper, you want to go and draw your line manually for the high of the week if you're going down to the 1-minute chart, and then it will show you a warning here that we're not showing the lines. So I've just jumped back to the 50-minute time frame. We're going to look at the ILOD, IHOD levels. By default, the lines stop moving at 2 a.m. New York. As you can see, this candle 2:15 has gone above that. We have the option of using 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So if I change it to 3, we're going to see the line keeps moving up. And that will only stop then at 3 a.m. New York. Let's leave that at the default. We've got the option to not include the dig gap zone when we're looking at the levels being drawn. And again, going back to the example of a lot of clutter with a lot of data for the past, you've got the option just to hide the percentage that displays in line with the IHD levels. So if you turn that off, you can still just hover over it and it will tell you the percentage. So that's just a personal preference, how many days you're going back by sort of standard. Display 50% Asia from. Again, 3 o'clock is the default because 50% Asia calculates 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. New York time. So again, it's 2:30 now. We've got the option of changing it to 2, so it will start calculating early. So if you want to start sort of guesstimating, oh, this is going to be my approximate 50% Asia line, you can change it to 2. It will still do the calculation though 8 to 3, and that will be the final level. And you can just see if I change this to 2 days, you can see yesterday's level here. It's this dashed line for 50%. Asia, again, no label in the past. That's normal. We only have the label on today data for that. I'm not cluttering things up. Okay, next one is a big section. So unrecovered vectors, we recommend that you leave them off when you're going through all of your charts in the day. If you've got, 10, 20 charts that you flick through, leave it off until you actually want to use the unrecovered vectors. It's a huge calculation that goes on in the background because we're not just showing unrecovered vectors from this time frame. You can show them from a different time frame. So we can be on the 50-minute chart as they show us the vectors that exist, on the 4-hour. We'll just start with a chart one now, and I'll just turn that on. You can choose how many zones you want to see above and below price. I'm just going to leave it at 1 now just to make it sort of easier to see. And I'll just calculate and remove the others. So we've got this option here to say exclude vectors that span price. Now, What this means is that, so just by looking at this chart, this red candle here is a vector. It's unrecovered. We haven't highlighted it. And that's because of this setting. So you'll see if I turn that off, it's going to highlight that red one. And this isn't really helpful to you. So I've found that when you are using charts or you're on the same time frame, then having this exclude is pretty helpful. So the reason why this is jumped down is because you can see the tiny gray dotted line. It is touching this candle, and we've got this now turned on to exclude the vectors that span price. So this candle is part of where price currently is, therefore don't highlight it. So that's why we've got the next one highlighted, which is this big red one. Then there's the option to include wicks when you mark the vectors. That's pretty obvious. Like on this candle, we'll jump up here and get rid of the end bit. This one here, we'll get rid of the top bit. As a standard, the settings that are default is what Annie uses. So if you want to have your charts like Annie's, this is how hers is defaulted to. The other option is, do you want to include wicks when we reclaim vectors or not? Now you can see I've unchecked that. Nothing has changed on the chart. That's going to work with this setting to only show the unrecovered portion. So as soon as I check that, we should jump down to here. If I check it. So you can see when I've got that, include the wicks when reclaiming vectors and only show the unrecovered portion. That is how it will display. You can choose to extend the vectors to go further out and change the colors. The 50% line, you can choose to not have it at all, but that's 50% of the candle. And if, for example, this wick had come down a little further and we're saying that wicks do recover candles, then that 50% line would disappear because we've got this hard if recovered. If we don't have this set, but the candle is getting recovered, you can have a sort of a floating 50% line outside of the box. So I'll just keep that on. Then what we have is an invalidation percentage. So if you don't want, you sometimes get like a tiny sliver of a candle, and in your mind, you consider that to be recovered. You can play with this setting to see what percentage works for you. So 97, 98, 99 are probably the most applicable values. To show you an example, I'm going to make this dramatic, and I'm going to say invalidation percentage is 5. Hopefully that's 5%. That's been recovered. Yeah. So that will then move on to the next unrecovered zone, because I'm saying I only want 5% to be recovered. Again, dramatic example, just so that you can see it happening, but play with it yourself, see what you're happy with. The default is 99, but 97, 98, 99 normally works. So before we jump into the next section, the next setting, I'm just going to choose a higher time frame. So what we'll do is we'll choose 4-hour unrecovered vectors. I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart. So we can see here we've got the 4-hour area of interest showing. And if we go back down, let's go to the 1 hour. And again, it's going to take a while to calculate, so just be patient. And then you can see here 4-hour area of interest. And it's got, half of this candle highlighted. It's joined these two together, so you can see this isn't a 1-hour vector. It's coming from a different time frame. just to make it more obvious, I'm going to go down to 15-minute. Let's go 5. So you can see here, you've got like a red candle in the middle and some gray candles and a whole heap of other candles. So what you can do is you can use this setting. So if you're looking at your chart and thinking, oh, what vector is that? It doesn't look like a vector or whatever. If you're using a different time frame, what you can do is you can go to this box and say override with high time frame candles. So if you check that, it's going to change all of these candles to be what they are on the 4-hour chart. So these are all green vectors on the 4-hour. So you wouldn't chart ordinarily with this turned on, but if you were using, the higher time frame, you just wanted to quickly verify, you could either jump to the 4-hour, obviously, or you could just use this box, and that will save you having to go and actually, draw the levels to verify you're in the right place. So that's an option there. Default settings for overrides. You don't need to change anything here. And we've got the same override with the Binance equivalent like we have on the open interest and PVSRA. So don't change these and you'll never have a problem with having different candle colors to cabin crew charts. Again, we have left the setting here to force the override if you want it. However, I can't think of a reason to recommend using it at this stage. Our EMAs, if you want to hide some of them, just uncheck the boxes. And then finally, we've got the market session info, which displays up here. It's the new slimline version is the default. If you want the old version, uncheck the box and you're going to see the old bigger square that sort of spells things out a bit more. And again, you can change it to be displayed anywhere, bottom right, top left, as you wish. So the other thing to go through is the alerts, and we have quite a few custom ones on here. So indicator, 3 dots, add alert. And then when you expand this, you'll see we've got alerts for the initial high of the day, low of the day individually, or we've got options for both. So you could set one alert, whether it's the high or the low being broken, you can get an alert on that. And we do the same for the daily levels, the weekly levels, 50% Asia, 50% of the high of the day, low of the day, and the week. EMA crosses just on the 200, the 50, and the 800. The PVSRA vector candle detected. So that will be any vector candle. And then you've got a PVSRA crossing the 50 EMA, and then the US settle, which is on the 5 and 15-minute time frame only. So you have to go to the 5 or the 15-minute chart to set that US settle alert. The other nice thing, what we've done with the alerts is that they'll just carry on. So you can set them now, and you will always continue to get the alert for the IHOD being crossed, for example. You don't have to reset those every week. If you want to have specific alerts on just a green vector, for example, what you can do on our PVSRA, you set the alert on here. So you can choose only a bullish 200. So that means you'll only see green, getting alerts for green vectors. And again, they can be set for as long as your TradingView subscription allows you to have alerts set for. Just a little bit of troubleshooting. Again, to highlight, there are a lot of calculations going on in here. So if you do have the indicator load and it shows a red exclamation mark here. You simply need to change to a different time frame and change back, and that will allow it to recalculate. The other thing that I want to show you is the support channel in Discord. So what we have is the normal indicator support channel. And then there's going to be a sticky message in there which says, if you want help with the Chrome extension, or if you want help with the indicator, hop into help desk. And there's a whole bunch of frequently asked questions here. So we just ask that you do that first before using the indicator support. So you'll just come here to help desk, and then you've got the Chrome section, which obviously isn't about this video, but there's a bunch of questions about the Chrome indicator. And literally all you do is you click on one and the bot will think, and then it will return the information to you. So we've got the indicator suite questions. We've got everything from how to find them and add them, open interest, not working. Well, it's not working because there's probably no data on the chart as we went through. There's things on alerts, vectors, you name it, probably all the questions that we could preempt. And then if nothing helps, you go other, and it will prompt you to go back to indicator support. We ask if you can do as much description as possible and provide screenshots of the issue. That will get you to a solution much faster that way. Otherwise, I think that is about it. I hope you all enjoy.